Everyone, and welcome back to another Rockies Daily. I'm your host, Scott Ayers, where we talk all things Colorado Rockies. And folks, the Colorado Rockies take care of the Houston Astros. They sweep the Astros to win their fourth straight game, their first sweep since that series against Miami in 2025. And the Rockies now are 6-6. They have probably one of their best stretches of baseball in I don't know how long. I mean, just really encouraging from start to finish for multiple games now in a row. And this team just continues to have we just had the ultimate vibes game ever. To a point where we just got a bunch of shirtless dudes waving their shirts around like they were rally towels for the last like 4 innings of the game. And the broadcast would just keep cutting and they would just expand. Their army of these shirtless dudes continue to expand. That's the kind of vibes that the Rockies had today. And it was just overall a ton of fun to watch. It was kind of interesting too because early on, top of the second, the Rockies are up 1-0. Lorenzen gets in a bit of a jam. He's ahead in the count. Houston has to pull. I can't even remember who it was batting. He's hurt, so they bring in Matthews. Matthews has an RBI single, and you're like, all right, is Lorenzen going to run into issues? And that was about it for Houston. There was one other moment in the sixth where Agnos had to come in to kind of clean things up. But ultimately, the second inning belonged to the Colorado Rockies. They blew things wide open. They score 5 in the second. And they were close to doing what they did in the first game of the series where they'd score 8 runs in an inning. They just score 5 this time. But they end up winning 9-1. And just so effective from start to finish. And there's some things that we need to highlight beyond just the scope of this series, which is significant in its own right because Houston came in bolstered as this top lineup in baseball, and the Rockies really held them silent. A lot of these guys for Houston struggled. But beyond just this series for the Colorado Rockies, it is how they have handled things so far this year. A lot of hitting categories, the Rockies are top 10. The Rockies are ninth in baseball for runs scored now. And this is after we kind of talked about them slumping to start the year. And the bats just came alive to end this homestand. All 3 games, the Rockies bats looked really, really good. But yeah, really, strikeouts is really the one category where you're like, this is still going to be an issue, I think, for most of the year. But extra base hits, home runs, you name it, batting average as a team, all of those stats have greatly improved. Then you look at the pitching, and this is where the biggest jump is, and this is where the Rockies, this is why they have been competitive start the year. This is why they are winning games to start the year. This is why they just swept the Houston Astros, is because of the huge leap they've had in pitching. Right now, team ERA is a 3.66 ERA. That's 20th in baseball, and you hear that, and you're like, 20th, is that really that good? But I'm telling you, that is a huge leap. Huge from what we saw last year, where the team's ERA was close to 6, 5.97 ERA, which is just unfathomable at how bad of an ERA that is. The Rockies have brought that down. Walk rate, one of the big things that we heard from Alan Leichman and Warren Schaefer, we've got to get ahead in counts, and we can't be walking batters left and right. And as of recording this right now, the Rockies last year were the 8th worst team in baseball when it came to walking batters. This year, they've allowed the 5th fewest walks in baseball. And so that can't be stated enough of how important it is that the Rockies are more effective at the plate. They're more effective when pitching. And the results now are the Rockies are sitting at 6-6 after facing off against Toronto, the Phillies, and the Astros. They started the season with the Marlins, They lost their first 3 games of the year and just had 3 pretty tough challenges, and they're sitting at 6-6. You can't be upset about that as a Rockies fan. If anything, you should feel pretty elated. And we will get to kind of their next series against the Padres, where they'll get 4 games in San Diego. But ultimately, what a great start to the year, and what a series sweep against the Houston Astros. So the Rockies have now won 2 series this year, both against AL opponents, and have done so this most recent one in a convincing fashion, where both pitching and hitting were phenomenal. Like I mentioned, Zach Agnos came in, and Agnos comes in a bit of a jam, takes care of business, and he finishes pitching 3 1/3, and just 1 hit allowed, and more importantly, no walks from Agnos. He has 2 Ks. Lorenzen goes 5 2/3, 7 hits, 2 walks, and just 1 earned run. And for Lorenzen, I think this is what we'll probably expect from him this year. He's a guy that will probably give you 5 and at most 6 innings pitched. But if he can go 5 innings and just give up a run, I'm telling you, that is more than what the Rockies could ask for. And so 5 2/3 is great. Everyone in this lineup for the Rockies, outside of Karros and Rumfield, had a hit, and Rumfield had a sac fly, an RBI sac fly. So Rumfield was still effective at the plate, and Karros did draw a walk. He scored a run. These were all really quality at bats for the Rockies. Edouard Julien, man, another great game from him, batting leadoff, 2 for 4, 2 RBIs. He gets things going once again. Can't say enough about just the faith to have in Julien, who had a horrible start to the year. The Rockies give him multiple nods on this homestand, and he's made the most of it. And I have to eat crow there because I was over it. I said, I don't want to see this anymore. And it's also why, obviously, Warren Schaefer is a manager, and I'm here talking about the Rockies. But it just speaks volumes to the confidence this team has. Tyler Freeman making an impact when he plays. Troy Johnson always making an impact. Talk about a guy who just... Troy Johnson went on the record, said, hey, people want this team to be good. And, it can be kind of a hit or miss thing because you say that on the record, and let's say your next game you go 0 for 4, all strikeouts. It's like, oh, buddy. No, not for Johnson. He was phenomenal in the series. And this is a series where the Rockies outscored Houston 23-9. And just a pure dominance from Colorado, from both pitching and hitting. Hunter Goodman gets his bat going a little bit. He had a home run today. Just really, really encouraging stuff from pitching, from the hitting. And it's about this new approach from the Rockies. And it is applying pressure. Kyle Freeland, they're talking to Kyle Freeland in the second inning where the Rockies are just pouring it on Houston. And he just mentioned applying pressure. And you notice it. Colorado has just gone with kind of this small ball approach where, hey, we're gonna have sacrifice bunts. We're going to bunt. Which it feels like in kind of this new era baseball, it's home run or strikeout. And the Rockies' approach is just refreshing because it's, no, we are going to put pressure on opposing pitchers and force them to make mistakes. And we've seen it. The Rockies scored on a wild pitch today. The Rockies just constantly had runners in scoring position. And man, it really does a lot for a team where even though they struggle with runners in scoring position when it comes to driving in runs, giving yourself multiple opportunities is a great approach for a team that's still figuring it out. And they've done that at quite a bit this year, dating back to even that Marlins series where the Rockies had guys in scoring position with opportunities to win. And it didn't work out, but there is a method to the madness, and we are seeing it when it works, they're winning games 9-1. And a great example is Tyler Freeman, sacrifice bunt, moves the runners over, and then Mickey Moniak has a sac fly that drives in a run. It's things like that. It's the little things, preventing strikeouts. The Rockies, what'd they finish with? They struck out 4 times today, or it increased by the end of the game. But I mean, up until late in the game, they had only 4 strikeouts. That's great. And so, effective at bats. The Rockies battled a ton today, and a lot of these at bats. Rumfield had an at bat that it felt like it was 20 pitches. It was probably 10 or 15. But he battled back from an 0-2 count and got on base. So, or it was either got on base or had a sac fly, but regardless, having quality and effective at-bats is a big deal, and that was a big part of their approach. We even saw Tovar take a couple of first pitches, and that dude absolutely loves to swing at the first pitch in at-bats. And so, for the Colorado Rockies, a great approach that we've seen all season long. It's not just something that we've seen against Houston. It has been all season long, and it kind of this was the first series where they really reaped the rewards, and we really got to see those bats come to life. But the Rockies can be a top 15 team in baseball when it comes to just hitting production, right? Those extra base hits, driving in runs. They have a great chance at being a 500 ball club, or maybe even better. We'll see. Especially with how this pitching is panning out to be. Obviously, things can implode at any time. That's kind of the risk when you're kind of a younger ball club. But feel good about this bullpen. The starters, I'm not going to say I feel great about yet, but I have been really, really pleased from their start so far. And now we get the lineup coming to life as they gear up for the first series against an NL West opponent, and it's against the San Diego Padres. And they'll have their hands full. If you're watching this, they play today, Thursday. They play Thursday against Randy Vasquez, who in 2 starts, 0.075 ERA, 12 innings pitched, 11 strikeouts. He has been a monster for the Padres. The back half of their rotation has not been very good, but Vasquez has been very, very good. And that will be a test. The Rockies will then get German Marquez on Saturday. So Marquez, maybe a revenge game, maybe an opportunity for the Rockies to try to get theirs against their former teammate. But should be a really interesting series. You go on the road after having some serious success at home. You win 4 out of the 6 games you play on this homestand. Now can you get 2 on the road against San Diego? You go 2-2 on the road. I think you walk away feeling pretty darn happy against the Padres. And then, just one quick note, and we can talk about this kind of stuff later on. But you face off against someone like Vasquez, and does that become a priority in the 2026-27 free agency? Is going after maybe a premier pitcher. Some names that could be available: Michael King, Trevor Rogers. Just some names to note. Freddie Peralta could very well be a free agent. It will all depend on what the lockout looks like, what some of those new rules, if there's a salary cap, salary floor. I think a salary cap would actually unlock the Rockies a little bit, because some of these top teams wouldn't be able to just dish out money. It's besides the point, though. That's a video for another day. What does matter, the Rockies just sweep the Houston Astros. They take on the San Diego Padres and have a great opportunity to build on this tremendous start to the year. So with that, thank you so much for watching. I'm Scott Ayers. I hope you had a wonderful time listening to the praise of the Colorado Rockies. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment. What is exciting you about this team in 2026? We've got a lot to be excited about, folks. Great start to the year, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow.